My name is Yasmeen and today I'm here with my friend and colleague,
Layan, Busafar.
So over the summer we were assigned to read this book called
Moonwalking with Einstein,
written by a journalist turned into a world memory champion, Josh Ford. So in this book, he detailed his journey from going to an everyday, regular guy like us, and how he won the 2006 memory championships. So from this book, we learned many memory techniques, and so we took a few, applied them throughout the year, and picked our favorite, or six favorite, to present to you.
So the first memory technique that we're going to be talking about is called mnemonics. Mnemonics is a technique used to memorize poems, words, and large amounts of information. Mnemonics is basically just a fancy name for an acronym. The concept is simple. It's focused on the order of your information. So you take the first letters of the words that you have, and you can form them into a sentence, or just leave them as an acronym. For example, the mnemonic that we show here is my very educated mother just showed us 9 planets, and it's used to memorize the order of the planets in our solar system. Another mnemonic that we all know is PEMDAS, which is used in math, and it stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction.
Okay, so the next technique we have is called the major system. The major system is great for memorizing any number that you have, whether it be a phone number, a date, or a statistic, really anything. And it relies on creating a numbers letter system, but don't worry, the easiest one has already been done for you. So this system takes the 10 digits that we have, which are 0 to 9, and correlates them to the corresponding first 10 letters of the alphabet. So the number 1 becomes A, the number 2 becomes B, up until 0 becomes J, which is the 10th letter of the alphabet. This technique is especially helpful in classes such as social studies or history, where you have so many dates to memorize, it's hard to make sense of them. Let's take King Henry VIII, as an example. He died on the year 1547, and that's a pretty abstract number. But using the system we displayed before, the number 1547 becomes AEDG, and this is where the fun part comes, because you get to combine the systems. So you take mnemonics, and you use it, and you combine it with the major system, and you can create any sentence you want with AEDG, or any image you can. And it can become ants enter dead graves. So we took that number 1547 and turned it into an image of ants entering dead graves. So whenever you need to recall the number 1547, just think of AEDG or ants entering dead graves.
The third memory technique that we're going to show you is chunking. And chunking is a technique used to separate a lot of writing, so it makes it easier for you to remember. It's mostly used for memorizing phone numbers, dates, and memorizing long sequences of numbers or words. For instance, let's take the number 921972. You can either chunk it by turning it into 92, 1972, or you can chunk it so it becomes a date. So 9/2/1972 or September 2, 1972.
Okay, so now we need 4 volunteers for this first activity. So you can come on. So we're going to give you a 12-digit number to memorize in 45 seconds using the system, the mnemonics, major system, and chunking. This is the number, don't do it.
Okay, you have 45 seconds to memorize the sequence of numbers using the memory techniques you just used.
And the audience can participate too.
Yes, the audience can participate starting from now. And your time is up. You can all go back to your seats now. At a later point of our presentation, we're going to call you back up to write down the sequence and see if your answers are correct.
Okay, so the fourth technique that we have is called the memory palace. The memory palace can be used to memorize anything from lists, words, poems, even an entire deck of cards or birthdays or names. And it works by creating a cohesive order between the information that you have, a visual cohesive information. So remembering using the memory palace does two things. A, it allows you to know that this information does exist in your brain, so it's in your memory palace. And two, it allows you to identify what that piece of information is. And it does that, and to use the memory palace, you need to know three things. First, you need to pick a familiar location. Two, a route in that location. And three, key spots throughout that location in your mind. So let's go with your house. You know your house pretty well. And your route could be from your front steps up until your room on the first floor. And the key spots would be like 5 to 10 spots you would pass to get to your room. So if I give you this list right now, you're probably not going to remember it in like 2 weeks in order. But using the memory palace, you can. See, what you do is take the memories, the information that you want to remember, and you create a really bizarre, weird visual of it and attach it to your key spots. The weirder the image is, the more likely you are to remember it. Let me show you. So this is the first part of my memory palace. I think back to my front steps, and I need to remember the word France. So a really bizarre image that could remind me of France would be a mind drowning in French cheese. So now I enter my living room in my mind, and I need to remember the word car. You can also make your images funny. So to remember the word car, I can imagine a toy Yoda, like Yoda the toy, a Toyota, crashing a car into the wall of my living room. And I can keep going like that in my mind up until I reach my bedroom with all the items on my list. And so whenever I need to recall any item, I can just think back and walk through my memory palace in my mind. So the fifth technique that we have is called the POW system, or the Person Action Object System. See, what it does there is you can use it to memorize any piece of information you want, and it attaches an image of a person performing an action with or on an object. So let me show you. Let's say after this presentation, I go out and I meet this guy called Jackson Wallace. That's a pretty basic name that I'm probably not going to remember a couple of years from now. But using the POW system, I probably can. The POW system can rely on phonetics, or how it sounds, or it can be completely arbitrary. But let's go with phonetics for this example. Jackson Wallace kind of sounds like Jack is on wall. And that creates an image of Jack Black giving a speech on the wall of China, or a person performing an action with or on an object. And then, it's supposed to be a picture of a chair, and then I can take this image and I place it in my memory palace, which could be the chair of my room. So next time I see Jack Wallace, his face will immediately let me think of this image of Jack Black giving a speech on the wall of China, and I would know his name is Jackson Wallace, and I met him when I gave my speech. You can also use the POW method to memorize an entire deck of cards. So for each set of 3 cards, you attach a person action object, or a POW. So a 9 of hearts, a 7 of clubs, and a 7 of spades, and a 3 of clubs could be Mickey Mouse doing a handstand on a door. And then I take this image and I put it in my memory palace, which would be the front steps. And then I keep walking and I continue.
So now we're going to call back up the 4 people that volunteered for the first activity, and we're going to have them write down the number sequence on a paper. We're going to give them 15 seconds and see if they get it right. And the audience, you can participate too.
Okay, so set the timer to 15 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, go.
And your time is up.
Okay, so you can stay and check your answer. The number was 430-7186-79428. So if you had 1 or 2 mistakes, that's okay because you're just applying this method and you had time constraints. So did you get it right? If you had like 1 or 2 mistakes, that's still really good. So thank you for participating.
Now we have a second activity. We're going to ask former people to come up. Yeah, come back.
Bicara? No.
Okay, so you're going to have 45 seconds to try to memorize a sequence of cards. Can we have one more volunteer? Okay, so using the memory palace and the PAL method, try to memorize this set of cards, like 1, 2, 3, and you have 15 seconds left.
And your time is up. Volunteers, please go back to your seats. At the end of our presentation, we're going to ask you to write down or just draw the cards to see if your answers are correct. So the last memory technique we're going to show you is called method acting. If you're a kinesthetic learner, which means that you learn better while physically interacting with your environment, then this memory technique is going to be your best friend. Method acting is very useful to students who have to memorize scripts and plays and speeches. The idea is that you literally do what you're trying to memorize as if you're acting it out. This is why people who take down notes when they're learning something are able to remember it better. So, for example, let's say you're trying to memorize a sentence, she pets a dog. So it would help you if you actually pet a dog, and doing this will help you be able to recall the sentence.
Okay, so if we can call up the people who were from the last activity. So we're going to give you 50 seconds to... We're going to give you 15 seconds to either write like ace of spades or go. Or you can just draw it. You have 5 seconds left.
And your time is up. You can check your answers on the board.
So it was 2 of spades, Queen of hearts, Jack of clubs, 5 of diamonds, Ace of spades, 9 of clubs, and 7 of hearts.
Again, if you have a couple of mistakes, that's completely fine.
Then you get it right. That's a good one. Thank you for participating.
everyday lives. If you would like to learn more about these memory techniques and others, we strongly recommend you read the book Moonwalking with Einstein by Josh Fuller. It's been a pleasure presenting to you.
And we had a lot of fun. Thank you for listening.